I thought retiring in Thailand would give me peace. I had no idea how quickly peace could turn into quiet destruction. I met her when I was at my most hopeful and my most blind. She said all the right things, smiled at all the right times. But by the time I saw the truth, my bank account was empty, and she was gone. I gave her the key to my life, and she used it to let herself out. I can still see that balcony in Chiang Mai where everything changed. The sun was setting behind the mountains, painting the sky orange and gold, and Chanthara handed me a cup of jasmine tea with both hands, the way Thai people do when they show respect. "This is your kingdom now, Pare," she said, her voice soft like silk. I believed her. God help me, I believed every word that came from those perfect lips. 2 weeks before that moment, I was just another lost foreigner wandering through a property expo, trying to figure out where an old electrical engineer from California might spend his final years. What pushed me to finally share this story tonight was an email I received a few days ago. It came from a longtime viewer, someone who's been quietly following this channel for months. He told me he'd been through something painfully similar. He wrote, "Hearing your stories makes me feel less stupid, less alone." When I first read that, my heart sank. I felt grief, knowing how heavy that kind of regret can be. Then I felt connection because in his words, I recognized my own reflection. And finally I felt gratitude. Deep, unexpected gratitude that somehow my broken pieces could help someone else carry theirs. So before I continue, let me pause and say this. If these stories resonate with you, please like this video, leave a comment, and tell me where you're watching from. I love hearing from people in every corner of the world. It reminds me that we're building something real here. And to those of you who keep coming back, week after week, this is my super thank you. Your support means more than I can say. Let me take you back to where it all started. The booths were full of aggressive salespeople pushing overpriced condos, but she wasn't selling anything. She was just there, helping translate for other foreigners, wearing a simple blue dress that made her look like she belonged in a temple rather than a sales floor. "You look confused," she said, approaching me with a smile that seemed genuine. "First time in Thailand?" I nodded, feeling foolish. At 69, I should have known better than to be charmed so easily, but loneliness makes you stupid. My divorce had been finalized 3 years prior, and I'd spent those years eating frozen dinners and watching Netflix alone in my Sacramento apartment. Thailand seemed like a fresh start. "I help foreigners sometimes," she continued. "Find good deals. Avoid the traps. No commission, just friendship." The word friendship hit me harder than it should have. When was the last time someone had offered me that without wanting something in return? "I'm Raymond," I said, extending my hand. "Chanthira," she replied, shaking it gently. "But my friends call me Chan." I wanted to be her friend. I wanted it more than I'd wanted anything in years. Over the next week, she became my guide through a world I didn't understand. She showed me properties that weren't in the tourist areas, places where my retirement money could stretch further. "Foreigners always want to live near other foreigners," she explained as we walked through a quiet neighborhood on the outskirts of the city. "But the real Thailand is here, with real people, real prices." She refused payment every time I offered. "Pare, you're like family now," she would say, waving away my attempts to hand her money. "Family doesn't charge family. Family." That word kept coming up, and each time it did, I felt something loosening in my chest, something that had been tight for so long I'd forgotten it was there. She started cooking for me in the evenings. Simple dishes that tasted better than anything I'd eaten in years. We'd sit on the small balcony of my hotel room, and she'd tell me stories about her childhood in Isan, the poor northeastern region of Thailand. "My family had nothing," she said one night, her eyes distant. "But we had each other. That's what matters, right, Pare? Having someone who cares." I reached across the small table and covered her hand with mine. "Yes," I said, "that's all that matters." A month later, she found what she called the perfect house. It was small but well built, with a garden where I could grow vegetables and a covered area where I could work on my old radio projects. The price was $40,000, which seemed reasonable compared to what I'd been seeing elsewhere. "This is your future," she said, standing in the empty living room with her arms spread wide. "Our future. Our." The word made my heart race like I was 20 again. I transferred the money the next day, using nearly half of my retirement savings. "You're so smart, Pire," she said, kissing my cheek as we signed the papers. "Most foreigners, they buy without thinking, but you understand investment." The Buddhist blessing ceremony for our new home was beautiful. Monks in orange robes chanted in the living room while neighbors I'd never met brought flowers and food. Chanthira wore traditional Thai clothes, looking more stunning than any bride I'd ever seen. We weren't legally married, but this felt more real than my divorce papers ever had. "Welcome to the family," her cousin Noi said to me in broken English, pressing her palms together in the traditional Y greeting. Her uncle, a weathered man named Somchai, shook my hand vigorously. "Good man," he said. "Good for Chan." I felt accepted in a way I never had back home. These people barely knew me, but they were welcoming me like I belonged. Chanthira moved in that same week, and suddenly the house felt alive. She hung curtains, arranged flowers, turned the empty rooms into a home. At night we'd lie in bed and she'd trace patterns on my chest while telling me about her dreams. "Maybe we get bigger house someday," she said one evening. "Have room for family when they visit. What you think, Pere?" I was thinking that I'd never been happier. I was thinking that spending my golden years alone had been the biggest mistake of my life, and now I had a chance to fix it. "Whatever makes you happy," I told her. "We'll figure it out together." 3 months later, she brought me a business proposal that would change everything. Her friend Somchai, the uncle from the ceremony, had connections with a development company building rental properties for foreign investors. "Limited time offer," she explained, showing me poorly photocopied documents covered in Thai text I couldn't read. "Only for family of current residents. $60,000 for 2 houses. We rent them out, make good money every month." 60,000 was most of what I had left, but the way she explained it, we'd make that back in rental income within 2 years. "This is our chance, Pere," she said, her eyes bright with excitement. "Our chance to be secure. To never worry about money again." I wanted to believe her. More than that, I wanted to be the kind of man who could provide security for the woman he loved. The transfer took 3 days to clear. The problem started small. Delays in construction that Chanthira blamed on Thai bureaucracy. "Everything's slow here," she'd say when I asked for updates. "But good things take time, right, Pire?" The right Pire was starting to sound different, less affectionate, and more like she was managing me. She began spending more time away from the house, claiming her mother was sick and needed care. When I offered to come with her, she'd shake her head. "Family business," she'd say. "You wouldn't understand." I found the first hotel receipt in her purse by accident, looking for pain medication when I had a headache. The Shangri-La in Bangkok, 2 nights. I'd never been to Bangkok with her. My hands were shaking when I confronted her. "Chan, what is this?" She looked at the receipt like it was evidence of a crime, which I suppose it was. Then her face crumpled. "You checking my things now? You think I'm lying to you?" Tears started flowing, and suddenly I was the villain. "After everything I do for you, you think I'm cheating? You think I'm a bad person?" I felt terrible. Here was this beautiful woman who'd given up her independence to build a life with me, and I was acting like a jealous teenager. "I'm sorry," I said, pulling her close. I miss you when you're gone. I worry," she cried against my chest. "I work so hard for our future," she whispered, "for our houses, for our life. And you think bad things about me." I stroked her hair and promised I'd never doubt her again. It was a promise I should have broken. I woke up on a Tuesday morning to complete silence. No sound of cooking from the kitchen, no shower running, no soft humming that usually came from whichever room she was tidying. The house felt different, hollow in a way that made my skin crawl. I called her name as I walked through the rooms, but I already knew. Her clothes were gone from the closet. Her toiletries missing from the bathroom. The small gold Buddha statue her grandmother had given her vanished from its spot on the dresser. She'd taken everything that mattered to her and left behind everything that mattered to me, which turned out to be nothing. I called her phone 16 times before accepting that she wasn't going to answer. The number for Somchai, the developer, went straight to a disconnected message. When I finally found his office address, the building was empty except for a security guard who spoke no English. It took me 3 days and a lawyer who charged me $200 just to confirm what I already knew. The rental property deal was fake. The money was gone. The house I'd bought, the one I thought was in both our names, was registered solely to Chanthira. According to Thai law, I had no claim to any of it. Very common, the lawyer said with practiced sympathy. Foreign man, Thai woman, property investment. Always same story. I drove to her village, a 2-hour journey through rice paddies and small towns that had seemed charming when she was showing them to me. Now they just looked foreign and hostile. Her family's house was exactly as she'd described it, small and weathered, with chickens pecking in the dirt yard. But when I asked about Chanthira, her relatives suddenly couldn't speak English. Finally Noi, the cousin who'd welcomed me at the blessing ceremony, pulled me aside. "She not here?" Noi whispered, glancing around nervously. "She go away. Not first time." The words hit me like a physical blow. "Not first time?" Noi nodded sadly. "Before you, American man named Robert. Before Robert, German man, always same. She helped them buy house, invest money. Then she disappear." I stood in that dusty yard, surrounded by chickens and the smell of wood smoke, and felt something inside me break. Not my heart. Hearts heal. This was deeper. The part of me that had been capable of trust. The Thai lawyer's office was small and cramped, with a fan that barely moved the humid air. Mr. Anurak spoke excellent English, which only made the news worse because I understood every devastating word. "You have no legal recourse," he said, reviewing the documents I'd brought. "The woman was never legally married to you. The properties are in her name only. The money transfers were voluntary gifts, legally speaking." Voluntary gifts. That's what 40 years of careful saving had become. "What about the fake development company?" I asked. "Surely that's fraud." He shrugged. "Prove it was fake. Show me the contract that guaranteed returns. Show me where they promised anything in writing." I couldn't because there was nothing to show. I'd trusted her completely, and she'd used that trust to take everything. The house had to be sold to cut my losses. I got $28,000 for a property I'd paid $40,000 for, and that only because the Thai property market was good that year. My American friends, the few expats I'd gotten close to, started treating me differently. Not with cruelty, but with the careful distance people maintain around failure. "Happens to the best of us," they'd say, but their eyes told a different story. They were thinking that they were smarter, more careful, that they would have seen the signs I'd missed. Maybe they were right. I moved to a 1-bedroom apartment in a building full of other foreigners who'd made similar mistakes. We nodded at each other in the hallways but never talked about why we were all living in the cheapest place we could find. At night, I'd lie in my narrow bed and listen to the sounds of the city through thin walls. Motorbikes, dogs barking, the distant sound of karaoke that went on until dawn. This wasn't the Thailand I dreamed of. This was the Thailand that was left after the dream died. Sam found me sitting alone at a coffee shop near my building, staring at a cup of coffee that had gone cold an hour earlier. He was American too, maybe 75, with the kind of deep tan that comes from decades in the tropics. "Mind if I sit?" he asked, not waiting for an answer. "I heard about your situation." Word travels fast in the Farang community. Farang. The Thai word for foreigner. Somehow it sounded uglier when he said it. "You know, you're not the first," he continued, stirring sugar into his iced coffee. "Hell, you're not even the first this year." I looked up at him for the first time. "What do you mean?" Sam's laugh was bitter. "Your girl, Chanthira. She got me 2 years ago. Different story, same ending. Cost me $80,000 and a house in Hua Hin." The world seemed to tilt sideways. "That's impossible." "She told me about her family, her mother." "Sick mother in Isan?" Sam interrupted. "Yeah, she used that one on me too. Real tearjerker. Needed money for medical bills." He pulled out his phone and scrolled through photos until he found what he was looking for. It was Chanthira, younger looking, standing next to Sam in front of a house I'd never seen. She was wearing the same blue dress she'd worn the day I met her. "She's good at her job, I'll give her that," Sam said, putting his phone away. Made me feel like the luckiest man in Thailand. Right up until the day she disappeared with my retirement fund. I wanted to argue with him, to defend her, to explain that what we'd had was real. But sitting there looking at this broken old man who'd walked the exact same path I had, the words wouldn't come. The German fellow before me lasted 8 months, Sam continued. British guy before him made it almost a year. She's refined her technique over time. That night, I sent her a message. Just one. I know about the others. I know this was all planned. I just want to understand why. She never replied. A month later, my friend Mike showed me the Facebook screenshot. Chanthira was in Phuket, smiling at the camera with her arm around a white-haired man who looked to be in his 60s. They were standing on a beach, both holding drinks with little umbrellas, looking like any happy couple on vacation. The man's expression was the same one I'd probably worn in those early days, the look of a man who couldn't believe his luck. The post was captioned, "New adventures with my special someone," with a heart emoji. Mike was trying to be kind, I think, when he showed it to me. "Thought you should know," he said, "in case you were still wondering if she might come back." I wasn't wondering. I'd known she wasn't coming back from the moment I found that empty house. But seeing her with someone else, seeing how quickly she'd moved on, how easily she'd replaced me, that was different. That was final in a way that even losing the money hadn't been. I deleted every photo I had of her that night. The ones from our house blessing, from our trips to local markets, from quiet evenings on the balcony. I deleted her contact information, her social media profiles, every digital trace of our relationship. It felt like erasing myself, because for those few months, she had been my whole life. The house sold quickly. Another foreigner, another retiree, looking for paradise on a budget. I wondered if I should warn him about the woman who might approach him at the next property expo, but I didn't. Some lessons you can only learn by living them. I packed what little I had left into 2 suitcases and moved to a small apartment near a rice field, 40 minutes outside the city. The rent was $300 a month, which was about all I could afford now. From my window, I could see farmers working their crops, the same rhythm that had continued for thousands of years. There was something comforting about that continuity, even if I was no longer part of it. I'm 70 now, sitting on the small porch of my apartment, watching the sun set over the rice field. It's been a year since Chanthira disappeared, and I've learned to live with the silence she left behind. People ask me sometimes if I'm bitter, if I hate her for what she did. The answer is more complicated than they expect. She didn't steal my money. I gave it to her freely, willingly, eagerly. That's the part I can't forgive, not her betrayal, but my own blindness. I wanted so desperately to believe that someone could love me, that I ignored every warning sign, every red flag, every moment when my rational mind tried to speak up. I made myself the perfect victim. The old expats here have a saying, "Thailand will teach you about yourself, whether you want to learn or not." I learned that loneliness can make you stupid, that hope can be more dangerous than despair, and that some people see kindness as weakness to be exploited. But I also learned that I'm stronger than I thought. I survived the betrayal, the financial devastation, the humiliation. I'm still here. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I'd been smarter, more suspicious, less trusting. Would I still be living in that house with the garden, growing vegetables and fixing radios? Or would she have found another way to take what I had? There's no point in wondering. The past is as fixed as the stars, and regret is just another form of wishful thinking. Still, in my dreams, she sometimes comes back. Not to apologize or return my money, but to lie to me again. And in those dreams, I believe her, just like I did the first time. I wake up angry at my sleeping self for being so foolish, but maybe that's who I am. Maybe I'd rather be the kind of man who trusts too much than the kind who trusts too little. The rice farmers are heading home now, their work done for the day. Tomorrow they'll be back, doing the same work their fathers and grandfathers did. There's something beautiful about that predictability, that sense of purpose. I don't have their certainty, but I have something else. I have my story, and the hard-won wisdom that comes from surviving your own mistakes. If you're reading this, if you're a man my age, thinking about starting over in a foreign country, let me give you some advice. Trust your instincts. When something seems too good to be true, it probably is. When someone refuses payment for help, ask yourself why. When love feels effortless and perfect, be suspicious. Real love is work. It's negotiation and compromise, and sometimes it's boring. It doesn't sweep you away on a tide of jasmine-scented dreams. But mostly remember this: you are enough, just as you are. You don't need someone else to complete you or give your life meaning. The person who truly loves you won't need access to your bank account to prove it. I learned these lessons the hard way, at a cost I'm still paying. Maybe you can learn them more cheaply. The sun is gone now, and the rice field is dark. I can hear the frogs beginning their evening chorus, the same sound Chanthira and I used to listen to together on our balcony. But I'm not listening with hope anymore. I'm listening with acceptance. And sometimes, acceptance is enough.